Must be for John, Brian.
Yeah,
Okay.
looks like. Anybody can vote for the COVID stuff.
Who had?
Yeah.
Still is. A virtual concert.
The cell phones do, yeah.
But that one's actually not,
That's pretty close.
yeah, for a change. Did you reset it?
I did, I think I did, yeah. I was gonna set that one a little bit slow, so we don't start early.
After
Yeah.
phone mail. Hi, did someone join us?
Yes, this is Julie McDonald.
Hi, Julie.
Hello.
We are almost ready.
Nothing. You ready? All right, we'll come to order. You want to take the roll call, please?
Julie McDonald,
Here.
Hannah Bazinet,
Here.
Jim C.,
Here.
Millie Schoonover.
Absent excused.
Thank you. Michael Cabinet.
Here.
Thank you. Chanel McKinley,
Yet to arrive.
Timothy O'Connor.
Here,
Thank you.
thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All in favor of that?
Aye.
We should have had a discussion, I guess. That's okay, hearing from the public. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Sorry. My name is Kimberly Rice, and I'm speaking tonight because I know later on in the meeting, you're going to do some review or discussion about the closures of the facilities. And I'm here to speak tonight mainly in relation or topic of the city gym closures at this time. I'm speaking for Civil Air Patrol. I'm a senior member. I'm also the safety officer for the Gateway Composite Squadron for the Civil Air Patrol. Those that aren't familiar with what Civil Air Patrol is about, we are an auxiliary of the Air Force. And we meet Monday nights in the city gym. It took us a couple of years to get really going and off the ground. And once we found the right fit of a place to meet, we've been able to make great bounds and move forward in all our core missions and so on. Right now, since this most recent closure has occurred, we've missed 4 meetings, and it really has set us back with our programs, our core programs. And so what I'm requesting tonight is that you please at least consider, if not completely opening the city facility for public use, but at least for our meetings on Monday night. I'd like to talk about some of the things that we do at these meetings so you have a better idea of why we should be allowed to go back in, basically, and what these meetings do for the community. Our 3 core missions are aerospace education. And at this time, we're getting ready to adopt some classrooms on the island. We're pretty excited about that. And to introduce some STEM, basically aerospace education is STEM based. So we'll be working with classrooms on the island for that. The second thing we do is our cadet program. And that is our cadets range in age from 12 to 20. And we mainly focus on the military end of that as well. But it has great opportunities for what we do. Our cadets are able to go to encampments. If they stay on track, they're able to get their pilot's license. They're able to learn, go to different places around the country to different military bases and participate in different training programs. There's a really cool one that's offered normally every year where they actually like drop them off of the end of a cliff and practice rescue and things like that. If the cadets stay on task and stay in there, there's a good chance that they could get awarded the Spats Award, which is the highest rank. If they do achieve that, it is an invite, a guaranteed invite to the Air Force Academy for their university career. So it's not just, it's something that can do great things for our cadets on the island here. Our Gateway Composite Squadron consists of cadets and members that are not only on this island, but a couple in Ketchikan and in Cape as well. The third thing that we do is emergency services, and we are right on the edge of this, being able to start utilizing those right here on the island. We are set to have an amphib Cessna in the region. We are also getting specialized drones, which aren't just the ones that you can get off the shelf. They're very specialized that can help us with search and rescue, and then helping with after disaster relief as well. In Juneau, just recently, the Civil Air Patrol was deployed out of Juneau, and they assisted with some of the aerial surveying there as well. All our cadets and most of our senior members have been checked off on during the spotting and the line of sight for the drone. So what we'll do is we set the drone up, it gets the lay of the land, and it computerizes that, and then you can do search and rescue when you look for like debris and those other items. So there's a lot of things that we can do, but we need a place to meet in order to keep this mission going. The gym has not only been fantastic for that, but it's been affordable as well, since we do run purely on donations and have to find a way to pay for the facility, but it's been affordable for us. And with the internet now being in there as well, it's just been awesome. We are also, the only contact that we have right now with city employees is with the exchange of the key and the paperwork. The paperwork I've been able to get on the internet, so all I need from Mr. Bowling is an email address of who's the lucky recipient of the paperwork. The key, I think we can work out a strategy to make, if that seems unsafe, to make that safer. We're held at the city precautions, the Alaska Wing precautions, the National Civil Air Patrol precautions for meetings, and the Air Force. The main issue for this is that we need to stay mission ready. So before even COVID was even a word that people uttered, for our meetings, if you felt ill in any way, you're not welcome, because we need that mission ready status. So once again, I really hope that the council will consider opening the facility for us. I'd like to see karate back in, and any other interests. But our meetings, please see the need for the community for us to continue our mission and serve the community. Thank you for your time. And if you ever have any questions about Civil Air Patrol or anything I can answer, obviously I'm always available and easy to find. Thank you.
How many people are in your group? Sorry.
In our group that meets our total we have 18 members that are senior members and juniors. At the meetings though, we limit that to the cadets, and we always have to have 2 to 3 senior members there. So we only have 4 cadets on the island right now. We haven't been able to do active recruiting because of COVID. We're hoping to be able to get that going this fall. So right now we're less than 10 ever at a meeting. Most folks appear by video or by the phone.
Okay, thank you.
So you can social distance and wear masks and the things that would be necessary.
Oh, absolutely. We've been doing that already. We're required most of the time. And actually too, we've had 2 calls just recently for certain Civil Air Patrol for the Alaska Wing to stand down, which means the meetings have to be held virtual. So we follow all of those as well. So if in our area, we're not there yet, but if we were to be, then we would be doing something else. So yes.
Chanel's on the line.
Can you hear Chanel?
Yes, I am.
There you are. Thank you. We should be able to accommodate you on that somehow, I think. We'll talk to John and see if we can get that set up.
It is on the agenda generally, later on next week, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
No, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Consideration of resolution 2020, declaration of Fred Hamilton Senior Day.
That'll be an action item under consideration of resolution and ordinances, Mr. Mayor.
On down there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, very good. Okay. Report, city administrator.
Mr. Mayor, thanks. I did include a written staff report in the packet. Just a couple items to add. One is, last summer, Steamboat Bay Lodge used the rented, leased for 3 months, the portion of the floatplane dock terminal building, actually the Fred G. Hamilton Senior Building. And rented the counter space that Pacific Air used to occupy to facilitate turnaround of the guests from the lodge every 3 days. They'd like to use the facility again next summer. Last year, I permitted them to go in under what's called an access permit, which is an administratively issued permit that staff can issue for a time period up to 1 year. I don't have any other inquiries or demands, at least no formal ones for use of the building. So I'm inclined to reach an agreement with them and issue with Steamboat Bay Lodge and issue another 3-month permit next summer. I just wanted to let you know in advance that's what I was considering doing. The term of the access permit that I wrote up last year calls for them to work cooperatively if a second floatplane operator were to approach the city and want to start service, and they fully accepted that. The potential eventuality plus this past summer. And after talking with their representative today, they're prepared to share the space if need be as well. So, so I'm trying to keep the door open for another tenant in there, eventually a year-round one. So at any rate, if there's council doesn't have any other comments or input, I'm going to go ahead and follow up and get that secured, that permit secured by the end of the month.
I have a quick question. Waterfall also uses it, right?
And during inclement weather, they also bring in their guests through the terminal building. Yes.
Okay, yeah, they have a lot of boats that are, okay.
The other item is December 1st, marked the 40th anniversary of Les Nelson's tenure with the city of Craig. So it's a remarkable accomplishment. So I just wanted to let the council know, we recognize that if you see Les, you can make it a point to congratulate him, tell him thank you for the long term of service. Like I said, it's singular. I'm not sure the city's ever had an employee that lasted so long. And that's it, Mr. Mayor.
That's it. Okay, thank you, John. Any questions for John? Okay, treasurer.
Mr. Mayor, I've submitted a report. I'd like to add that today Pilar has finished looking and checking all the numbers for the vendors that we purchased with CARES money. And we're meeting with John and Brian next week to hopefully finalize where numbers are. So we're getting close to the end here. If you guys have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay.
Yes. Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Brian informed me we've had a request from a member of the public to provide some public comment that didn't join. Excuse me, weren't able to comment earlier. So if you'll permit it, they are prepared to call the dial-in number.
Yeah, look, go ahead, Brian, have them dial in if they like.
Sorry to interrupt.
I just typed in the phone number, so we'll see if he dials in.
Thank you. We can go on a staff report while we use.
Okay. Aquatic manager.
Mr. Mayor, I submitted a written report. I'd like to add that John and I have been discussing, some sort of promotional something or other for when we reopen, since closing due to the construction was not exactly a planned situation and we have been closed a lot. We've thrown around some ideas of such as like doing $1 swim night for the month, discounting passes for a month. One thing I will be bringing to you guys in January is opening up for doing a strictly a family swim one night a week to where it's not teenagers. It's just moms, kids, babies, grandparents, it's a family thing. Also with doing possibly a team night on a Saturday night. But those will require like a price change, so I will get something written up for you guys, but we wanted to kind of look for a little bit of direction on what you would allow or would like to see promotional wise.
So we're happy to take feedback sometime between now and the next meeting. But as Jessica mentioned, I would like to see us do some sort of promotional advertising and make a concerted effort to notify people that the pool's open again.
Sundays for families outside of Craig, having some kind of a family rate for people to come travel on the weekend. A lot of families always want to use it on the weekends, and it's like the most limited
It's
hours.
when we actually went to only Saturdays. I went through 3 years of numbers and having us open Saturday and Sundays. It's one day or the other day.
Mhm.
So that's why we pick Saturdays and that. And I have a lot of kids that can't work Sundays due to church. So, but has been something like, even doing a family swim like a Saturday night.
Yeah, or sometime on the weekend when families from other towns can make it.
But they got the rebar in, so we're getting there.
Thank you, Jessica.
Mhm.
Any more questions for Jessica?
Ed's on the phone.
Who is it?
Ed DeVille.
Hi, Ed.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for backing up a little bit and letting me make a comment. Could everybody hear me okay?
Yeah, we hear you, Ed.
Okay, well, the reason I'm actually calling in was in support of Ms. Evelyn Carter's letter for Fred Hamilton Senior Day. And I'd like to encourage the council to make that into resolution tonight. I couldn't think of a better person for that. The Hamilton family has had a long time here, and with their strong family ties here in Craig, I don't see that ever changing. So I was really happy to see this, and I hope the board would consider it. Thank you.
Okay, Ed, thank you. That all you had?
That's it. Thank you, guys.
All right, thanks, Ed. Okay, City Clerk?
I submitted a written report. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for the clerk? Okay. Moving on, City Planner.
I submitted a written report, and be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for the planner? No. Fire and EMS Coordinator. Minnie. Still has her meeting going.
She has training tonight, I know. I think she was gonna try to break away. Perhaps she'll dial in a little bit.
Yeah, we'll just come back to her if she shows up. Harbor Master.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have submitted a written report. Would be happy to answer any questions anyone might have for me.
Okay, is there any questions for the harbor? None? Okay, thanks, Hans.
Yep.
Library. We have a librarian.
She was out sick today, Mr. Mayor, so she may not be up for calling in tonight.
Okay. Mr. Police Chief.
My turn.
Yeah, it's your turn.
I submitted a report. I'm sure everybody's probably heard by now about Mark David. His services are going to be Saturday the 19th in Clay Elm. Kind of short notice. I'm going to try and get down. No guarantees yet, but we'll see how that happens. Lots of computer issues, that's why I'm late this evening, but we're back up and running, so if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
I'd just like to acknowledge, Mark's time with the city here. He's very dedicated, police chief, and along with Tina, his wife is also with the office here. Just, I also want to acknowledge, their service for.
Yeah.
It was just shy of 20 years.
I had 15 years working with him, and every one was a really, really good year because he was a really good man.
Anybody else? Okay. You'll be missed. Thanks, RJ. Moving on to recreation.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you, Victoria.
Oh, well, hello, good evening, everyone. I submitted a report, and if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask me. And I also left you all an invitation to listen to the 16 Days to Christmas, which is our online power concert that Kathy Bowling, Ralph Mackey, and Karen Coffey are putting on as a fundraiser for the thrift store. And I hope everyone listens and gives us lots of money. So, but yeah, we did cancel the bazaars, and we're cleaning up the youth center, and life goes on.
All righty.
Any questions?
Any questions, Victoria? No, thanks, Victoria.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
You too.
Mr. Mayor, I think we skipped Public Works.
Yes, we did. He wasn't highlighted. Public Works. Oh, there he is, Russell.
Yep, good evening. I did not submit a written report as required, but I am here. And I can answer any questions that you might have for me. Mostly just been out on Fort St. Nicholas Road, doing cleanup of those landslide areas and preventative measures, trying to keep debris from coming into those culverts. And so we've had to rebuild part of a road, and out there it's 4.3 miles. So we've been pretty busy this last month, almost month and a half. So that's mostly what we've been doing.
Did the engineer have anything good to say?
Yeah, some areas he recommended, that we could potentially do some dirt work, but he also recommended some additional culverting. He recommended additional culverting at the 1.3 mile, though we believe that we've got a culvert that's still kind of buried. The inlet is buried still at this point. So our focus next week will be to get to that, at some point. And he did recommend additional culverting along the 4.3 mile slide area. That, and I think the biggest question that I had was, am I stuck now with, what the earth has done and moved water and so on and so forth. And we are kind of stuck in a sense. And so what we did is we kind of recognized that, and especially at 4.3, we had the mayor come out and cut some logs that were in the way and began to kind of channel that water, so to speak, and widen that area. And so I think we've done a real good job of doing that. But that's what we kind of needed to know is were we able to just move some dirt, or do we really need to totally redesign everything? And so I think we've been able to do some basic dirt work to alleviate some of that situation, especially at the 4.3 mile. 2.7 mile out by Shelter Cove, that's another area, as I'm thinking about those landslide areas. We're going to have to put some additional culverting in. I may have to put larger size culvert in, because I don't think that that 18-inch diameter culvert will hold a big storm event. That's the one up there, right by the rock wall. So we'll see how that goes. But that information, I've talked with John about, and we're just kind of taking one step at a time here, making sure that we're minimizing our costs, so to speak, and doing what we can right now. Of course, I've been involved with John and Brian here as far as trying to gather information and data to submit to the state DOT for the emergency relief program. We got some more information from CTA today by email to assist with that. And I've got a rough draft email that's going to be submitted to John and Brian for their approval, but we're still going to seek some help that way with some of the costs. So that's, I hope I answered your question.
Thank you.
Did you end up going further up that 4.3 up the creek and getting that all pulled back, or to where it doesn't break?
Yeah, we did. We probably went up, probably about 1/8 of a mile, you know, and channeled that and
Built in
pulled that and built kind of a berm, so to speak, against those private properties there and channeled that water. So there's still just a little bit more work that I'd like to see, you know, done. I think we'd like to get some rock in there and kind of armor that rock in a little bit, just so that, you know, we've got a big stump kind of still sitting there, and no, I don't really trust that thing. So, and I don't have anything, there's nothing big enough on the island to pull that or to get that thing out of the way. So, and I don't know if we really want to go that far as in our work, but we need to at least put some rock up against that and stabilize that and keep the debris coming from, you know, coming down into the culvert. And that's the biggest challenge. Just a ton of material. It's amazing. And then, like I said, 1.3 mile, we do have one culvert there that we've got to locate the inlet still. I think that'll relieve the water going down the side of the road. You know, as you're going out on Port St. Nicholas, you know, as it's going to that further culvert, I think we'll be able to divert that flow straight into that other culvert that dumps out by the dock or the landing there.
You're gonna re-divert that stream back into its original bed?
You know, that's another thing that we'll try to take a look at, you know, and see if we can
That's something I want to take a
simply
better
do
look.
it by a week of work. You know, I think my biggest concern was, you know, getting up in there and then, you know, ending up spending a week or two, you know, not really accomplishing a whole lot. So I think we can look at it again and try to do something. But right now we do have most of the flow coming from up above is now diverted to those double culverts. So that's where it's going, and we can kind of build that up, I think, and push that hill almost over, and we can push some of that flow. We could actually probably channel it and cut in and channel it and push it back, you know. It's a big project though. There's a lot of material in there. We'll just see what we can do. So then, of course, our focus will be to, you know, we've got one big pothole right there to 1.3. We're going to cut the asphalt out, and we'll put some flowable fill in there in the meantime. And when we get towards spring, we'll take a look at fixing a couple more areas on that asphalt. Thank you.
Thanks, Russell. I know you guys been working hard on it, so I appreciate that.
Yep.
Okay, parks and public facilities.
Doug's been taking personal days yesterday and today, so I don't expect him to be on the phone tonight.
Okay. Moving on then. Reading correspondence. October statement from the Alaska Permanent Capital Management. John, do you want to speak to that?
Only to say that the fund is worth $1 million more now than it was 6 weeks ago. I don't know if we'll hang on to that value, but it's fun to watch.
Yeah,
I've
it's amazing.
been watching my Pearl K kind of dance like that too. The way it works. Okay, any questions on that, anybody? No? Consideration of resolution 2020, declaration of Fred Hamilton Senior Day.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 2020.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt resolution 2020, declaration of Fred Hamilton Senior Day. Is there any discussion on this, council?
Mr. Mayor, oops, sorry.
I was just gonna ask a question, does the family intend on trying to do even something like on Zoom or some way to recognize Fred?
Yeah, I'd like to say something tonight. Good.
Good, Fred.
I'd just like to represent the family, thank the council and administration for considering our dad for this award. I think it's a huge honor and acting on behalf of my sister Evelyn Carter and June May and my brother Jim Hamilton. I'd just like to, and the rest of our family, to thank the council and administration for giving this big honor to our father.
You bet. Thank you, Fred.
Mr. Mayor,
John?
Millie, Councilmember Millie Schoonover wasn't able to make it today, but she sent me a text and asked me to read it.
Okay,
May I do so now?
yes, sir, go ahead.
Millie says, Fred is a legend all of his own. He is one of a kind, a sense of humor that doesn't end, a historian, a proud high man. When I was in school in the 50s, he was the school janitor. He worked for Ellis Airlines, plus for other airline companies. He fixed heating systems. He was a fisherman, worked for the Alaska Marine Highway, a member of the Presbyterian Church. His father lived to over 100 years old. The Hamiltons have a long history in Craig. What an awesome man. He's loved by everyone that meets him. He loves to talk about his years growing up in Craig. This honor is well deserved. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, for this proclamation for Mr. Fred Hamilton.
Okay, thank you, John. Minnie, or Miller. Okay, we'll move on to roll call vote.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
just want to add that so this is an opportunity for the council to formally establish February 2nd, 2021, in honor of Mr. Fred Hamilton Sr. on the occasion of his 100th birthday. It's well-deserved recognition of a gentleman well-known in the community in Southeast Alaska. And I think his impressive array of contributions to Craig is a testament to his love of the community and his remarkable longevity. Thanks.
Go ahead, please.
Hannah Beltranette,
Yes.
Millie Schoonover is absent. Mike Catlett.
Yes.
Julie McDonald,
Yes.
Chanel McKinley.
Yes.
Thank you. Jim C.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion's passed. Thank you.
Oh,
Okay, moving on to new business. Consideration of appropriation. Fort St. Nick's slide repairs or response.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
There's a memo in the packet that describes some of the things that have been going on since the slides occurred. Pardon me. Including efforts by staff to identify the scope of some of the damaged areas, and as well as identify potential revenue sources to offset what are likely to be substantial costs to the city to make repairs to the road and the drainage structures that support the road, as well as to stabilize some of the ground that's immediately adjacent to the right of way. As was mentioned earlier, I think by Russell, Brian Russell and I have been spent considerable time following up on these leads, working with the executive branch of the state government to include us in a disaster declaration that would assist us in securing and qualifying for funding from at least one source. We also are working closely with the CTA through what's called the ERFO program to identify some funding. Again, funding to offset what our costs are going to be. We're focusing on 4 particular areas: 1.3, 4.3, 2.7, and the place for the triple culverts is 3.4.
Yes.
3.3. So those are our areas of focus at the moment. I feel fortunate that we haven't had additional slide activity since the most recent event. Nice to have a couple of days without rainfall. But we don't know what the future holds. And so in addition to Russ's excellent work, being on the road day and night, and his crew's commitment to improving the roads, and then Brian's great efforts in keeping us on the front burner with the state emergency response folks, and help from the tribe, we should have hopefully some positive news for the council in terms of the financial and offsetting what are likely to be hundreds of thousands of dollars of costs to actually fully return things to the condition they were in before the slides. I've given a summary here about what's been spent, at least as of the date of the memo, to the response. So I'm asking the council to appropriate not just the $26,400 that we spent so far on third parties to respond to the slides, but asking for an additional $25,000 for the time being to conduct additional repair work. It's my hope that by the time we exhaust that, assuming the council does approve the appropriation amounts, that we'll have some more definitive news on other sources of funding that we'll need to access to address some of the damage along the roadway. Russell, Brian, any additional follow-up?
Yes. No more?
No, that's it.
Okay. So do you need
I'll move to appropriate $26,400 from reserves to cover the Port St. Nick Road costs incurred to date, and authorize a second appropriation of up to $25,000 more for repairs anticipated to occur in the months to come.
Second.
motion's been made and seconded to appropriate the additional 25,000 and the 26,000, right, John?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that'd be 51,000 to take care of the Port St. Nick issue on the slides.
For the time being.
For the time being, this is gonna end up being more money, I'm sure.
Is this separate from like the normal maintenance, to where it's not gonna go into the formula?
It's certainly not normal. You're right about that. But are you talking about the road fee? It'll max out the road fee for next year. So at this point, the folks out there are, of course, it's all based on the annual maintenance report that staff prepares, which is based on what we spent. Likely is not, by the time this fiscal year elapses, we'll have reached the amount of money spent out of pocket. It's likely we'll get at or close to the $150 cap, which is a fee that we'll start to collect about a year from now, perhaps a little sooner.
Mike?
Second.
Yeah. I just.
So everybody has no more discussion, we'll vote on this thing. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? None heard.
Thank you.
Updated council hours discussion. So open for discussion. Hannah?
Yes, we'd like to start at 5:30.
In the morning.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm sure Tracy'd like that one.
We're just looking for some council direction on,
You're right, I don't like that one.
So I mean, I would like to do it at 6, but I think that wasn't okay for everybody. I can't remember.
Right, Julie can't get here till 6:30.
So I'd be happy with 6:30.
What do you think at 6:30, Julie?
I'll make it work.
Chanel?
Yeah, I can do 6:30.
Jim, is that gonna cut into your fishing or anything?
No, no.
What?
Mine.
Oh, yours? Okay, Mike?
The one question, it wasn't an ordinance. We didn't have to do any major changes, John.
it is an ordinance, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The ordinance says it needs to start at 7 unless it's posted, unless a different time is posted a day or two in advance. So,
For the time being, we can post
we
it,
can
and
just
then we
keep
can work
posting
on
it.
the ordinance change.
right, exactly.
Sounds great.
That'd be lovely.
We sure start in trouble. All right. So everybody wants to start on doing this thing at 6:30. That's what I understand. And so we want to do a vote on this?
I don't think we have to do it.
No? We have to do a vote or just give you direction at this point?
Well, I think the record of the minutes can show that the council will, there's no objection to starting the meetings at 6:30. And then the formal vote will come when you adopt an ordinance to change the code.
Okay.
So can you just ask if anybody objects to it then?
So does anyone object to moving the meetings to 6:30 besides Tracy? Nope, none heard. Okay, moving on. City facility closure discussions.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
thanks to Brian for preparing the memo on this. So I made the decision to, after the governor's November 12th announcement that asking people to make changes to their practices to discourage transmission of the virus. I kind of reverted to where we were last summer, locking doors at City Hall, but you can get in by appointment or calling ahead of time, closing the city gym, rec center, library. For some of these facilities, we're still offering services, just COVID services, right? And services in light of COVID. The governor's November 12th declaration he's announced will be replaced by a new disaster declaration, I think Monday, right? And I haven't seen it. I'm guessing it's going to be similar to what he put out in November, since the case count is still high in the state. I guess my inclination is to, as long as he's warning us that there's a problem, is to keep taking preemptive action, protocol action to do our part to meet his request. But I'm looking for, I guess, general guidance from the council about whether or not we have to continue to do that. It is inconvenient for the public, most of whom have adjusted pretty well, but some of whom still have a need to meet with us. And like I said already, we do make accommodations for that. I think there is some room for I'm listening to what Kimberly said earlier. We're following a protocol in the sense that is set down by the governor to ask us to be stricter. And the average person that uses the gym doesn't have a set of cleaning protocols that they bring with them, right? And from what I'm hearing from the Civil Air Patrol, they've got formal protocols that they have to follow that might be a good standard to follow if we were to reopen the city gym before the governor's emergency declaration period ends. So I mean, I could see some potential room to work there. I'd want to talk with Victoria about it and then see the protocols that written protocols that, for example, Civil Air Patrol follows. But in general, like I said, I'm inclined to stay the course for now. I don't like it. I don't want you to give the impression. I want to give you the impression that I like sitting here with the doors locked. I don't. It's counterintuitive to the way we practiced for the umpteen decades before that. And I don't really want to not give credence to the governor when he makes a specific, explicit plea to take preventative measures. I think we ought to respond positively to that. So that's sort of my train of thought at this point, but I'm happy to take direction from the council on it if you have other suggestions.
Anything?
I'd be okay with working with the Civil Air Patrol under some of the, the guidelines that they've suggested that they follow, and then what John has just said. I think that, this is a real issue. But we've, when I say we, publicly, most people in most businesses, communities have learned how to, manage and work through it and minimize the risk. And I think this is one of those situations where it is low risk, and I'd be comfortable with our administration working with the Civil Air Patrol and, let them continue with their programs here.
I agree. And I do view Civil Air Patrol as part of essential service because they are, in essence, rescue, or search and rescue. And they could also aid in whatever we need as far as EMS or fire or any of that stuff. They could be involved at some point, especially if they get their float clean. Because if we end up with somebody back in St. Nick behind a slide, that might be our only option of getting people out. So I think we need to accommodate them to the best of our ability. If we have to buy a fogger to sanitize the gym after they have their meeting, that would be fine. But they have those foggers they use in airports now and on the planes. I think they're just spraying bleach, but it's. Go ahead.
You wouldn't have to buy one, we already have one, so.
You got one?
Yes.
Good job.
Yeah, and we use, it's basically food grade disinfectant that's been approved, so.
Oh, good. That's good to hear. So yeah, I believe we need to accommodate them to the best of our ability. So,
Wouldn't it work if the people that use the gyms gave you a written plan for their use that shows they're being, COVID compliant or whatever for using it, like karate? I mean, they've all been making their adjustments and being safe. We haven't had any community spread, so I feel like it's a low risk. If they just gave you guys a written plan of how they're working so that they could still use the gym.
Right, maybe the mayor had a good idea. We probably should get one of those machines. And then we can increase our rental costs a little bit and make sure that that happens after people. But if people want to be responsible and use the gym, I don't see where we shouldn't do it. I was very proud of the school board last night, opening the schools back up. Because if you look at what, even New York and those places, 3%, that's 90 people on the island before they go into any big hullabaloo. and everybody here flipped out immediately, which is, I understand that, but I think the gym and some of the other things need to be, I mean, we can't do contact basketball, and we probably shouldn't do volleyball, but the other things that are more control, single space oriented, like karate, if they're willing to wear the mask, and actually with the numbers that I see down there, they can space 10 feet apart, or maybe 12 feet apart when they have karate down there. And like I said before, I think having the doors open so that we've got some ventilation, and then if we can mitigate by having our own sprayer, it would be a good idea. But hopefully this thing is gonna be wound down really good by July, like they're saying right now, but who knows?
This is Julie. I agree with everything Jim just said.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Jessica over the pool, she has one of those foggers.
She does.
And we bought it with CARES money.
Good deal. Yeah, I think that would more than address the governor's concerns about that, and especially when it comes to, like I said, cellular patrol is pretty critical. If we have some need for them. To me, they're the same as fire or EMS. They are essential personnel.
I tell you, the kids, even Craig, the kids are really into the finger stuff, but they're used to having human contact, and there's huge problems going on right now.
Yes, massive.
The amount of kids using drugs right now is skyrocketing, just like it is with all the adults. RJ left, but I'm sure he would, just from the people I'm talking to in the community, and the people that are having trouble with their kids that have never used drugs before are using drugs now. And that's why I'm so happy that the school is back open. It's young kids.
I've heard a lot about that too, because
Yes.
they don't have sports
They're drinking.
and they don't have that, to hold them back right now. And so I have a kid living with me that's in high school, and he was really shocked when he just came back.
Yeah, needs to be opened up. So, anyway. What do you recommend on this, Joe? Any further?
Just feedback from the council about,
Just do what we can safely to let people do stuff, you know, I mean, you understand, John, what we need to do. It's, we're not gonna second guess you very much. But if we have the sprayer, that's a good start, because after they go in, it can be
Sanitized.
used.
okay, thank you for the feedback.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna move on to, school district CARES funding.
So, Mr. Mayor, as part of the recent closure, the school identified some families with some connectivity issues and called looking for some funding for that primarily. But in our discussion, we talked through some of the other options that the school district has, and including the district has an agreement with AT&T in order to help provide internet service to most of the district families for the next several months. And so some additional funding would fulfill the school district share of that cost share agreement. The most recent Treasury guidance gives us the ability to allocate up to $500 per student to the school district, pretty much for the school district discretionary use. So since we had shut down the tutoring and internet access program, we took about $12,000 that was left over from that, and already moved that over to the school district to cover their immediate needs. But an additional appropriation of $38,000 of shared funding will put them in a position that they'll be able to help make sure that the district families have connectivity through for the next several months, likely through the end of the school year. So that's the $38,000 appropriation that's in the memo.
Okay,
And that's merely moving money that is not being used from other programs. It's not gonna take away from what we're able to replace that to do the city.
It likely will, because we're at a point where, and we're still working down the fine points of the numbers, Jim, so I'm not sure that I can't give you a down to the penny answer, but it's likely that we will have some payroll reimbursement that we won't claim by the time we wash all of the programs out and close them all down. I think that there will still be some payroll that we would likely be eligible to claim that we won't. This $38,000 would likely reduce that amount that we would claim by another $38,000.
There's approximately 430,000 remaining to draw the CARES funding.
Yeah. I'm about to do November's numbers. So that's up to October.
And I'll have a better idea of exactly what the rest of the numbers look like, probably toward the end of next week. The last of the programs are under final review right now, and we're working with the nonprofits that we've given appropriated funding for. The goal is that they have either used or are ready to turn back portions of their funding by next week. So we're kind of closing all of those programs out, closing out additional expenditures for personal protective equipment and other items. And so our goal is that towards the end of next week, we'll know exactly what those numbers look like.
Right, but again, if the school ends up, if things go really well and they're able to stay in session, then they're likely to not have to use all this money. So I'm wondering, at that point, would that allow us, when it comes time to allocate them their 500 and some thousand, we're able to subtract?
I was on a conference call with AML Tuesday, and that question was specifically asked. The preliminary answer from Community and Regional Affairs, based on their discussions with DEED, was that communities or boroughs could not use this contribution as a replacement for any required local effort funds.
Right, but we give them more than what's required by $125,000. So if they have 25,000 left over that they didn't spend, we could merely reduce our not required thing at budget time by $25,000.
I think that's technically true. Where we might get in a little bit of a scrape with an auditor is the fact that, if you look at our history, we would have spent that money anyway. And so there's a risk that the auditor would look at it as an offset, whether it was required contribution or not. Something to keep in mind.
I feel like this would get used anyways, because I think what they're gonna do is give us internet so that there's, if at any moment they have to go back to the Zoom school program during this year, I think, isn't that the plan? To provide the internet just in case? Because they can't just go and get everybody's internet put on when they're down for a week or two.
I think if I understand the question, it's the thought here is to provide the internet service for a broad range of the students. Under the rules of from the Treasury Department, and Brian can fill in the gaps by not complete here, but the funding to the school district is assumed, it's assumed to be, permitted up to $500 per student without any other justification, just because the school can have $500 per student if the city decides to send the money to them. As a matter of administrative convenience is the word that the guidance uses. So there's, while this is prompted by a need for internet communication for students, it's I guess it doesn't strictly have to be accounted for that way.
Oh, I see.
Right, that's correct.
I'm not sure if I explained it. It's like so much of this, it's
Yeah.
kind of complicated.
So the provision, the immediate hookup issues and the provision of internet longer term is kind of the issue that prompted the discussion, and that's somewhat the intent of the funding, but if it's not used for that purpose by the school district, the school is not restricted from using it for some
Some
other.
other purpose. Right. Yeah, so Jim, at that point, Jim is correct. If it doesn't get used for the internet, it'll be used for something else.
Right, but how much money did the school get directly from the state on the other COVID application stuff? Do we know?
I don't know.
I don't know what those numbers were. I think that money was generally more restrictive and required to pay for PPE and cleaning and specifically tele work or distance learning technology upgrades that the district had to do. This would be more unrestricted money.
Is this are you just looking for
Direction to do.
direction?
Looking
Is
for
this
the-
do you have to make a motion?
We're looking for authorization
Yes.
to send the 38 specifically, $38,000. Whether or not the council supports that action.
We've made it our practice so far whenever we've allocated CARES money for some particular program or use like this. We've done it with the vote from the council to approve.
We'll vote on this and approve
Yeah, I'm
funding this.
I'm okay with it. Do you want a motion or just authorization?
Need motion.
I would move to direct staff to allocate $38,000 in CARES Act funding to the Craig City School District, in addition to the $12,000 transfer from the tutoring and internet program.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to allocate the funds. $38,000 plus the $12,000 from the tutoring. Any more discussion on this? Can I get, you want to do a roll call or all in favor on this one?
It's voice vote.
Okay. Can I, all in favor of this?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All opposed? None? Okay. Got your money, Brian.
I will pass that word on to the school.
There you go.
Unless I take that to mean I can have them write the check out to me.
Well, as long as you hand it to the superintendent later, it'll work. Okay, council, you got any comments? Yes, Mike.
Couple things. One is, I just wanted to kind of put out to the council to see how everybody felt about it, but we had a number of people during the slide events that have volunteered their equipment and well, some have turned in time, others did not. And I think it was a fairly considerable investment in both personal time and some monetary investment in fuel for equipment, stuff like that. And I think it would be, you know, a very good gesture to recognize those people that haven't requested anything, maybe with a fuel voucher at Petro or something. I'd leave that up for discussion, but you know, we had people really help us out. You know, it doesn't have to be a lot, but something that is at least, you know, recognizes the you know, the work and the help and a little bit of the cost that they contributed to the work.
That sounds like a pretty good idea, Mike. I have one, unless anybody else wants to comment on what Mike said.
I got one other too.
Oh, okay.
Do we want to, are you comfortable if we leave that up to you to come up with something?
Yes, I'm comfortable with that.
Okay, all right, that sounds good. The other thing I wanted to just recognize, you know, we've recognized three people for various reasons here this evening. Chuck Yeager, a renowned individual, an iconic American, passed away this week. Some years ago, he was a frequent summer visitor on the Silverado here in Craig. The thing that stuck out for me is, you know, I see him on the dock and occasionally got to visit with him, is for all the recognizable people that have come through the harbor over the years, at least from my experience. He was the only individual that would get off the boat and walk the docks and talk to people. He made friends down there. He carried on conversations. He was curious about how the different aspects of the boats worked. And I just thought that, you know, it was pretty remarkable. He was really a humble and genuine person. And, you know, in spite of, you know, who he was and what he represented. So I mentioned that, you know, pretty cool guy.
Pretty down to earth.
Yeah. Really, really genuine individual. You could tell that by, you know, the way he conducted himself and visiting with people on the docks. Anyway, that's my comment.
Jim?
My comment is, I know we can't vote on it, but, if RJ can go, I'd like to see the city pay for the trip down there. I think it's well deserved. I can't go, because if I go, then I won't be able to be with my family for Christmas, because I did my quarantine for 6 days when I came back this last time. Which is all, they say you don't have to if you come back within 72 hours, but that's, you know.
They
still-
didn't change that?
Hmm?
They didn't change the 72-hour thing?
You don't have to do anything technically,
Oh,
but
really?
it's like, they're all gonna leave the day after Christmas, so I don't wanna take the chance on infecting them and sending them all across the US, so. But if the city doesn't think they can do that, then I'll just deal with it and I'll pay RJ's way, so. If he can go. But, you know, Mark was here a long time and did a lot of really good things.
He did.
He was a good man, like I said, you know, 15 years, he was one of my best friends ever. Took care of me a couple times after I retired when I needed help. And really good person.
I think that's more than appropriate.
Yeah, I think city can afford to fund a ticket for RJ down there to go to this, make a presence known for the city. Be nice.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
for a long time, the city has had Wells Fargo credit card. RJ has always used Bank of America. We have a lot of miles on Bank of America. That's pretty much, most of it's been through the police anyways, so we could get him a ticket on that part at least.
Okay.
It's gonna take a couple nights at hotels and
Yeah.
I don't think he'll even care about the per diem part, but you know, we should be able to pick that up without a problem.
Understood.
Okay.
Thank you.
What do you know about this, John?
I think the Alaska Municipal League recognized the efforts that, not just of the city of Craig, but of virtually all their member communities in addressing, responding to the CARES Act. Well, first of all, the COVID virus, and then the CARES Act that followed, and implementation of the programs, helping each other out, one community to another, sharing program details and information and ideas. And it's been a remarkable year in that sense. I'm sure you'd all agree. By remarkable, I don't mean great. But AML, for their part, really led the way in providing a forum for municipal employees to share what they saw as appropriate use of the funding, how it could benefit their residents. Similar to what you watched us here as staff do, and what the council did in response to that as well. Councils of Oregon and Alaska were doing the same thing. I don't know that they were able to, I think we're lucky here. We had Brian's experience with emergency response. He's done really remarkable work. Sherry's, I've been amazed at how she's been able to try to take the reins of the other responsibilities of her job and then assume all this CARES money responsibility at the same time. Having Misty on was a big help. So we are fortunate that we got through it as, I wouldn't say effortlessly, but as well as we did. But that's where the plaque originated, was from AML trying to give their community members some encouragement to keep going.
Well, I know you guys have worked your butts off, so this is recognizing it. It looks to me. So.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
what is that?
It's a plaque from AML. Recognizing the work that these guys have put into the managing the COVID situation. Landslides, COVID, gyms, schools, karate kids.
Cool.
It's been a busy year. I don't think nobody will miss it. Anything else?
Take a motion.
Second.
Barry, before I fall asleep. Motion's been seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?